Okay, I'm live. I'm not sure if if this is even going to go out as the original way I set it up. Boy, I hope so. I guess it kind of does look that way. So let me just check on. And sorry, folks. Like I say, well, it's been so long since I've done a live stream, and I explained that. If you're wondering why, it's just yeah, I was highly discouraged. Let me just say that highly discouraged, and figured I'd prioritize things at home and you know just to have a healthy mindset about things and try to put things into perspective. That's kind of the gist of it. And like I say, it's I've been paying attention. I haven't gone anywhere. I've been paying attention to stuff. But like I say, I did diminish the kind of online activity I was doing. Just like I say, for me, my family, and for peace of mind, to be honest with you folks. But yeah, there's been so much taking place, and then this the Charlie Kirk assassination. Yeah, that's just yeah, I got drawn back in again. I mean, I knew it was going to happen at some point in time anyways, and I know everyone's kind of chiming in this stuff, but well, folks, I kind of bring my own, I think, unique perspective to things. I'm sure you're getting lots of information, lots of perspectives, lots of opinion, right, from lots of people, and as have I, ever since that event took place. But yeah, like I said, I'm just going to bring my particular perspective and way of thinking about things to the forefront to this live stream. Before I do, though, be like I say, it's been a long time, so setting everything up. Unfortunately, my plan was paused on StreamYards, which is the software, the online software that I use for these live streams. And when I went to hit live, I had to. It told me I had to resume my plan. Fortunately, I had paused my plan and didn't cancel it entirely. But I'm not sure exactly how that worked out because I did it just now. So, like I said, I just want to make sure everything is going good on the other social media platforms. And I will just mention, of course, not only am I here on X, still out there, still doing some retweeting, still paying attention to what's taking place. But yeah, you can still find me fairly routinely active on my Canadian Libertarian Facebook page and on YouTube. I still have a YouTube channel as well. I'm one of those people, rather than being canceled because my channel was so small and had such minute amount of reach, is I wasn't canceled. I never got big enough to get canceled. So I was just basically pushed off into a corner where very few people are ever even allowed to see my content. So yeah, I still have a channel on YouTube. And yeah, of course I take advantage of that so that even for the few people who do get to watch my content, well, it's still there. And so are I think about 1,400 other videos and live streams that are on that channel as well. So if you want to look through any of that stuff, then I'll just mention again, just put in keywords in the search term in the search bar on whether you're talking my YouTube channel or my Facebook page, and you'll find a plethora, a tremendous amount of content relating to all areas and aspects of liberty and what it even means to be a free human being. But once again, just let me check on things, make sure all is going well. I'll just start on the old Canadian Libertarian Facebook page. I should just too mention this real quick at the top. Shout out to Keith Tays, Scott Stewart, and a bunch of other fine folks. Kyle, I can't remember his name right now, but some of the other great gentlemen that I met up with at the first annual Pine Fest here in New Brunswick. Yeah, you heard it here, folks. Yeah, we're kind of emulating. Not only do we have something, along the lines of, as you folks know, and I've talked to Mr. Vandermas in the past, the New Brunswick Free Province Project, which I'm not sure. Maybe I'll try to reach out to him again, find out just exactly how that's going. But yeah, in addition to that, quite a bit has taken place and transpired. So we now have a Libertarian Party of New Brunswick. Once again, it was Keith Tays that started that, and kudos to him and all the people that helped him bring that to fruition. And then, of course, like I say, now we have not just, a political, in case of emergency, break glass Libertarian Party, right? Because that's what a Libertarian Party in terms of politics is for, folks. It's not to play in the political realm. It's in case we ever get a culture of people, or at least the majority, right, actually care about their individual freedoms and liberties and actually know what it is to be a free human being and want that to be emphasized at the political level. Yeah, that's what the political party's for. We're nowhere near that, as we see. So the political parties are more or less our way, our gateway to at least not just get a toehold into politics, but as a way to get people on board and start meeting up and talking about things, and even maybe even having conversations with people like myself who like to take things from the philosophical perspective rather than the political one. And that's what we've already started doing. And that was what we did, dipped our toes in the water with the first annual Pine Fest in New Brunswick. And I got to tell you, it was great. There was actually much more people there. I won't specify as to the numbers, but there was a substantial number of people there, considering we live in New Brunswick. It's a new party. It's the very first ever event. And we don't exactly have a whole lot of financial resources or the bully pulpit to get our information out there. So considering taking that all into account, I'd say it was a genuine success for the first go around. And once again, I got to meet some great guys that I've met, online, but I never, ever interacted with them in person. And I finally got a chance to do that. And I got to say, it was great. And I appreciate all the work and effort that these fine folks do. And once again, Scott Stewart as well, for all the fine efforts that they put in to try to help educate, inform, and enlighten our fellow Canadians. But anyways, like I say, let me get to making sure the live stream. So yeah, it's looking like it's going good over there on Facebook. So any of you folks that follow my Facebook page, you can go there right now and check it out. It's live, and like I say, it's going to be on here. Let me just check on my X profile. Actually, I should set some here. I should just let people know that I am live. I am live. Okay. All right. So I just shared it over there on X. And now, once again, for the last but not least, although it depends, but yeah, we're going to check out my Canadian Libertarian YouTube page and just see how it's going and making sure that it's being live streamed there now. Yeah. So yeah, it looks like so all is going well over there on the YouTube as well, apparently. Let me just make sure the quality is good. Yeah, quality. No, we want that up here. Yes. Okay. So that's good. So yeah, like I say, so you can find this live stream on my Facebook page, Canadian Libertarian Facebook page, on my X profile, as well as YouTube. So I'm also hoping that some people will get this notification. Otherwise, it might be just a solo therapy session, depending on how things go. Because, like I say, it's been a while, and I'm sure, people are, as people tend to do. And I don't hate people. I don't hate you for it. It happens. You forget about people when they're not, out in front and center or constantly in your feed, which I'll admit I probably have not been for quite some time. But anyways, like I say, let me get back to the gist of things. And yeah, I got to tell you, there's been some really, 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 really heart-touching moments so far, from a lot of the Charlie fan supporters and the kind of stuff that they've been posting on all the big major social media platforms. And I got to tell you, folks, first and foremost, yes, this is definitely the way so far. How this is, being, how the response so far is appropriate. And I mean all of it. Because so far, from what I gather, there has not been any violent retribution or retaliation for this. And that I commend all of the folks, whether they're Charlie Kirk supporters or just people who are sick and tired of the status quo, the establishment, or the left, right? It would be easy, to race down to their level at this particular time, at this particular moment. But I got to tell you, I just feel it in my bones. And I'm sure that's the case with a lot of people today, this is actually the time. Now, as you folks know, I'm not the kind of person that constantly advocates for turning the other cheek, even though I consider myself a Christian. I also recognize that there's a time and a place for that to happen. Then there are times where, no, you don't turn the other cheek, because it can be very much detrimental. And as it is right now, currently in this current circumstance, this current situation, there's nothing we can do to bring back Charlie. There's zero that we can do to bring that man back to his wife, to his children, to his family, to his loved ones, to those who cared about him, right? To all of the millions and millions of fans and followers. There's not a thing we can do to change what has transpired. And violent retaliation, I think, would actually give, as you folks know, most of the establishment media, a sizable portion of the professors and teachers in academia, right? The political class, the pundit class. There's a fairly sizable cohort of people who would just love to be able to misdirect or redirect the hatred and the focus on the right wingers if a retaliatory circumstance actually took place. So please do not give your enemies, do not give your opponents that kind of a win or that kind of ability to manipulate, distort what has transpired, what has taken place, and place the emphasis once again back on you folks. Put the target back on you folks. Do not give them the opportunity to do so. Hold steady, be patient, use this horrendous, horrible situation, this terrible, tragic event, use it for what you believe Charlie Kirk was fighting for, what he himself would have wanted. Agree with the man on his politics or not. I got to say, first and foremost, like I say, he wasn't a main character that I actually watched. I've watched some of his content, yes. But I got to tell you, just like with Steven Crowder, I watched some of his content, but like I say, I'm not really in that left versus right thing. I don't consider myself part of either of those tribes. So it's not really where I am. I'm more along the lines of like to watch people like Dave Smith and others and Stefan Molyneux and stuff. So let's just take into account that this, rather than delve into the left versus right thing, let's just acknowledge that Charlie himself, whether you like him or loathe him, was always willing, same with people like Steven Crowder, were always willing to at least engage. They had the audacity, the courage, not to mention the charisma, the character, and the intelligence to do so properly and in an ethical and an upstated manner, as far as I'm concerned. But they were willing to engage with those who vehemently disagreed with them, those who even loathed them, those who, as we can see, who are vehemently against him and what he stood for. But he was still willing, knowing that, to engage on a regular basis with his opponents. That and that alone is something that gives me a tremendous amount of respect for that man, because that's something that I've been talking about. And you folks know, those of you who watch my content or who have watched my content regularly, know that is a big, big deal for me. That's something that I emphasize on a regular basis, and I will continue to do so going forward, is we have to be able to talk to each other. I mean, in the absence of talking, you're talking fight or flight. And I mean, when you're talking flight, that's off the table because we all live in the same country. We all live, or even if you're talking about Canada, US, we all live on the same continent, right? We can try to avoid each other to a certain degree, but we can't entirely. And that's the other thing. The apparatus of the state alone forces us into associating with each other through these socialized programs, right? So whether you like it or not, we're kind of forced into the fact that we live among people who vehemently hate us and loathe us and can't stand us for even being alive, for even being able to take our next breath. And like I say, the only other option to that is fight. And as much as people from the left and the right seem, or at least some of them, itching for a fight, yeah, it all sounds good right up until that actually starts to transpire and take place, right? Might have sounded like a good idea at all, or whether you're talking about the supporters of any other tyrannical regime throughout the past. But we know the history of what took place, what transpired. And the proponents of the authoritarian regime or those who were vehemently against it, both sides suffered tremendously. Nobody, right? Neither side got to escape unscathed. So for those of you left or right who are advocating for ramping up even more violence or retaliation, or the lefts who just want to bring more violence to the table, at some point in time, I guarantee you will realize that it was a very, very stupid idea to even think such things. Never mind to promote them. Well, thinking is one thing, but to promote them at the very least is just the stupidest idea you could ever come up with. And especially when you think about the kind of people, like, especially, let me just say this to the left, because like I say, there's lots of people who are speaking openly to the right, but let me just speak to the left, right? I know you feel emboldened, but I tell you, the image that that I get in my mind, the image that I got in my mind when I heard what happened and all this, and the cheering that took place is like, the left at this point in time, and I mean, you got to recognize it, and if not, for your own safety, for your own health, for your own peace of mind, step out of your echo chamber for a minute and observe the kind of people who are your opponents or your enemies. I mean, your side, the left, are predominantly comprised of what? University professors? Yeah, I'm not talking big, burly, manly, mixed martial artist types, professionals. No, we're talking very weak, very flabby, very inept in terms of physical prowess in confrontation or battles. And what? It's a lot of people with severe mental health issues that represent what they call the LGBTQAI2S, whatever, right? A lot of hacks in the establishment media. We all see them. We all know what they look like, right? We see their ages. A lot of them quite frail. A lot of them are women even. And who are your opponents? Oh, sizable portion of the mixed martial arts community, military men, police, just staunchly independent individuals, right? Highly competitive, very competent, very strong, very forceful individuals if they require that, right? This is the thing. The reason why you're seeing the right doing a lot less of this stuff is because you must understand there's the old adage of walk softly but carry a big stick. Someone who has actual strength and self-confidence, right? They don't act like the people on the left. But when the time comes, if or when the time comes, those right-wingers, as you call them, yeah, they can be a hell of a force to reckon with. And they could steamroll over your gang, your tribe, at will, fairly easily, fairly readily. And don't even think about conjuring up in your mind like some of the old days under Mao Zedong or Stalin or Lenin or any of this shit. Because back then there were a lot of strong people maybe on both sides. Things have changed drastically over the years. And those on the left who have that sense of entitlement, who are major advocates of the state, who have been spoon-fed and live very entitled lifestyles, for the most part, especially the major advocates out there, like I say, very, very weak in comparison to their opponents. So be wise, be wary, and be careful of what you wish for. And that's another thing I just want to emphasize too, before I get too far into this thing. This content, I've talked, just check through my past live streams, my past YouTube videos, search through them, just look up fascism, Nazis, Hitler, Mussolini. Use those keywords and you'll see the information, or on my Canadian Libertarian Facebook page. Matter of fact, I have an article that I'm contemplating by Sheldon Rickman regarding this subject matter that I may very well read in this stream, or at least a portion of it. But I got to say, this constant pretense that conservatives, or what are considered conservatives today, or even like libertarian types, small c conservatives, big C, the people that are considered the right these days, that are pointed out as the right, and we all know who they are, like even including people like Joe Rogan. Like, really, right? I mean, come on, seriously though, Joe Rogan. Anyways, but right wing, okay, let me just say this first and foremost, and then we'll work from there. Neither Hitler nor Mussolini. Now, I fell for this shit early on, just like most people, because it was prior to me taking the time out of my life to actually learn some truths. So it's an easy thing, and people are very easily susceptible to believing that Hitler and Mussolini were right wingers. Well, I'm here to tell you, folks, that is the furthest from the case. That is the furthest from the truth. They were, in fact, staunch socialists who advocated tremendously for the state, and the state having such a massive role in every aspect of our lives. That fascism, that comes from, it's basically just another branch of socialism or communism, just with a different twist. It's collectivism at its core. It's collectivist at its core. All of those ideologies, communism, socialism, fascism, Nazism, they're all collectivist ideologies. And conservatives, right? If you know what the word even fucking means, are not, and I repeat, are not staunch advocates of big government and collectivism. And libertarians are certainly nowhere near that. And for anyone to even suggest as much, well, it just goes to show that they're either willfully ignorant, stupid, naive, or evil by the sheer fact they're willing to lie and represent people for some very, very nefarious needs and purposes. Or not even needs, I should say, for various purposes. And those purposes are to disarm you, to train the unsuspecting, the gullible, the naive, to hate you for what you stand for. That is the purpose. That is Nazism, is to silence and suppress any individual who dissents from the gigantic monolith of the state. And if we look to the kind of people who have been advocating for a rampant growth in the state, and for silence and suppressing people, and for using violence, intimidation, coercion, and bullying as a means to their end, well, that is the left. They are the modern example of what was in Germany called National Socialists, Nazis, or in Mussolini's Italy, fascists, the bundle of sticks, right? Or in Mao Zedong's China, the communists, or in Stalin or Lenin's communist Russia. They all share that same bloodthirst, that highly divisive means of identity politics and class and race baiting, and the race to the lowest common denominator, and collective groupthink, collective guilt and punishment. That is something that they all share. And that's not to suggest, I'll just say this right now. The right are not historically like that, or not any of the ones that I know or see or pay attention to, or that the left keeps targeting. But I will say this. They, as with the right-wingers, have been paying attention. And a sizable portion of them are quite intelligent. And they realize that actually, we may very well, that's their mindset, not me, but their mindset is, well, let me just say they, because I don't like to include myself in that, but they may very well have to race down to compete with you on your level. And as I'm seeing lately, they're getting quite good at it. The one thing the left are great at are telling stories to appeal to your emotion, right? Well, I got to tell you, the assassination of Charlie Kirk has given the right-winger, or the right-wingers, I mean, a lot of fodder. That's a great story for them to tell now. And it's an individual that they can point to. And there's some really tear-jerking images and sentiment out there that's going to really reach out to and appeal to a lot of people. Now, I hope they use that for good rather than completely emulating their left counterparts and using it for seemingly just pure evil. But once again, if you think that the other side is going to continue and forever remain on seemingly the losing side of things, well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, but you're sadly mistaken. Sadly. Anyways, like I say, hopefully there's some folks up here in the chat. I'm just going to check on it real quick. Like I say, I hope you folks are doing well. And most importantly to me is this just reminds me of how important, and I'm kind of very happy that I kind of did what I did, which was to take some time off to spend with my family, to prioritize, family, and to make that the emphasis of my life. Because I tell you, it's been an important thing, and it's been really helpful for me. And I hope you folks are doing the same thing. Listen, there's time and there will be time in the future. I mean, I've been doing this for, I guess, 14, 15 years. Things haven't gotten better. In fact, they've gotten worse. So there's still lots of time, ample time, to get involved in these divisive arguments, debates. Actually, that's the thing. There's not even debates. That's another thing actually I want to go with here is look who it is too. The left are completely against engaging with their opponents. Whereas the right, which makes sense when you think about the personality traits of the left versus right, is the right, they're quite confident in their knowledge and what they believe to be the truth and their facts, right? In their ethics. They're quite confident, which is why, as well as someone like myself, and once again, I don't consider myself right or left, right? I consider, I'm a libertarian. I don't play for either team or tribe. I'm an external observer, and I'm watching how this is unfolding. And I got to tell you that the right do have that kind of confidence in their knowledge, which is why they're willing, which is why someone like Charlie Kirk is willing to go to these very leftist type universities and engage in dialogue and debate and vigorous discussion. Whereas the left, or the major proponents of the left, are not. They're constantly telling their people, their tribe, their team is, no, don't engage with our opponents. Either kill them or silence them, suppress their speech, cancel them, get them fired, right? All of that. And let me just say, when you're talking about the firing thing, even for those people, I am truly an advocate of free speech, a true advocate of free speech. And I'll just say this right here now, and it won't be popular with the right wingers today, but I got to say, do not resort to bringing about your own form of cancel culture or of these mass firings or retaliatory efforts to go after people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. Because then you are literally just morphing into the very people that you loathe, that you are against, that you are standing up against. Don't do that. If you genuinely believe in freedom of speech and you believe that sunlight is the best disinfectant, and not to mention, hell, at least they're showing us who the fuck they are. Even if the first 2 points I made, the fact that they're out there publicly showing who they are, that's kind of a good thing. You probably want to know if your neighbor, if your coworker, if someone in your immediate community, maybe someone you might want to know if they celebrate death, the death of Charlie Kirk, and maybe ultimately wish death upon you. You might want to know these things. I'm a firm believer in freedom of speech for that reason and many others, but that alone is good enough reason to say, yes, we want freedom of speech. So don't jump on board to this cancel train, this thing that's barreling down the tracks. Don't take control of that. Don't even seek to take control of that. Once again, this is the time to be wise, to be wary, and to genuinely do the right thing. There's going to be plenty of times in the future going forward. I got to say, there's going to be plenty of times in the future where all of us, we may have to do things that we don't want to do. That happens in life. That is a reality of being a living human being. There may come a day, a time when you may have to do something that you don't want to do. That's a reality. It's undeniable. But like I say, be wise, be wary, and be astute enough to observe what this moment actually means and reach out and take the opportunity that we've been given. Sure, it came at the expense of Charlie Kirk's life, and I feel so horrendously horrible for that fact, and mostly, of course, because of the people who are still living in his life, namely his wife, his children, and his family, his friends. I know that's going to be really, really difficult for him, his fans and followers. But once again, if you want to honor his memory, if you want to honor him and his family and his children and the future, and hopefully make a better future, not just for his children, but for our children, our grandchildren, and all the children who are brought into these countries going forward. If you want to do the right thing, then, like I say, take advantage of the fact that this may very well be the precipice where you can finally start to see some of that silent majority, or those who tacitly support the progressives because they falsely believe that they're the benevolent ones. This is sending a big message to them because they, just like you and I, they too are seeing the vile and disgusting celebrations that their counterparts are bringing about on social media and maybe even in their personal lives. They are seeing this stuff. That and that alone is going to help change their minds and want to bring them more closely in line with the ideas of freedom, of liberty, and personal responsibility, all those things. That could go a long way, folks. But if you race down to their level, do this eye for an eye thing, then that person, that casual observer, that independent person, or even that person that may very well consider themselves on the left, but is a rational thinking person, you may send them back to that side. You may reinforce for them that there is no such thing as a good side and that they feel more comfortable with their tribe and nothing changes. Or worse than that, it actually continues to get worse. That's the possibility, a very real potential to happen. So like I say, let's be wise, let's be wary. I understand the desire for vengeance. I completely understand it. I've lived it myself. And I, even in the situation where it was either do that or just try to fix my own life and get myself in a better position for my family, I chose the latter. And I'm seeing that I was greatly, greatly rewarded for making that right, wise decision and not to race down to their level. Like I say, Doesn't mean that I'm forever going to turn my cheek, and I never will. I never have, and I never will. But there are times in our lives, in each and one of our lives, and whether it's in the pit of your stomach or in your intellect or something that you might have seen someone else doing and realize that it was the best. Know that there are times, and this is the time. It's a time like this where you need to be wise about how you deal with this situation. And if you really, at the end of the day, especially for all the people who are online and active in the political discourse, if you really genuinely care, right, not just about your team winning, but about finally getting beyond this highly divisive, this highly violent, this highly authoritarian and demeaning, just pathetic situation that we find ourselves in, both socially and economically. If you really care about getting out from under this and starting a new chapter in life, one with a much, much brighter and a peaceful and prosperous future, then you have to take advantage of the fact that this is the opportunity to just stand up, do the right thing, march on, and keep speaking openly, unabashedly, unafraid. I mean, you can be afraid, but just have the courage to continue to do so. But this is the time to show true principle, true character, and the true convictions of your character to do what is right. And don't race down and meet your opponents at their level. Not now. Not now, folks. Not now. This is not the time. And I firmly believe, I hope that's the case, but I do firmly believe that Charlie himself would agree with me on this particular perspective as to what took place. Anyways, like I said, I'm just going to check on some of the comments here, and I really appreciate you folks who have seen the live stream and joined it. I really, really appreciate you folks. Rise up, children of God. Right on. That's a very nice username. I like it. I like it. I like it. Hey, Bennett. Hey, what's going on? Oh, look at that dog. That's cute. That dog kind of looks like my youngest son's dog, Major. That's it. Looks like a cutie. But yeah, thank you. Hi, hey, Ben. Hey to you, Rise Up. Hey to you. Was David. Oh, what's up, David? Hey, what's going on, my friend? Yes, very nice to see you, David. Always good to see you in the chat, and thank you for joining the live stream. Really appreciate it. This saddens me. Even though I didn't know or hear Charlie Kirk speak much, this event really questioned the state of society we're in these days. Yeah, I'm with you. And there's one thing, like I say, this is where you just got to, even when I was going through my own very, very difficult situation, you just got to look for those little green sprouts or green shoots, right? Or something positive to latch onto, something good that you can use to come out of this. Not only will it be good for you, but the people that you surround yourself with, but hopefully at the end of the day, it'll be good, for our nations at large as well. And I'm with you there, David. I really am. And hopefully there's a lot more of us out there that are feeling the same way and really doing a lot of self-reflecting, doing a lot of thought as to what does this really mean? Like, where do we go from here? These are very important things to think about. Yes, this generation. Oh, here we go. Yes, this generation is pretty frail. In my day, and even now, I'm a do-it-yourselfer. I still maintain cutting trees, digging, working, riding my bicycle, etc. And I'm 54 now. I'm 54 now too, by the way, David. And yeah, I'm the same way. Yes, there's just something about, that pick yourself up by the bootstrap. That is kind of a conservative mentality, but that's the one area where there was lots of things in my life and growing up that I disagreed with from conservatives, but the picking yourself up by the bootstraps, brushing yourself off and marching on and just getting back to living, that's great advice. And I would say so regardless of which side of the political divide it has ever come from. But I agree. And actually, I did that in my own life. And like I say, I've been greatly rewarded for doing so. And having self-confidence, self-esteem, right? Not being egotistic, right? Because there is a point where you need a little bit of a gut check on your ego, right? That is a fact. It's a fine line to walk, to be honest with you. And it's a difficult one, I'll admit that. But the closer you can stay to that, and the more that you can do to bring real meaning and substance into your life, the better off you are and those who you surround yourself with. And good for you. Good for you. That's, like I say, I'm the same way, and I believe that truly is the proper way to live. There's nothing good about totalitarianism. Canadian, you are absolutely right about that. And that's something that both sides need to realize. Totalitarianism is horrendous. And it's only, even if you say, oh, but it can benefit the people that are implementing the totalitarianism. Yes, for a while. But as with all of humanity, I mean, just look through history. Nazism rose and fell hard, right? Communism in China rose. Well, the kind of communism that starved, 40 million people under Mao Zedong? That 40 or 50 million people who died, who succumbed to that kind of totalitarianism, that just goes to show you the very negative side of it, right? Same with all of the other authoritarian or totalitarian regimes around the world. Even those who are part of it, eventually, a sizable portion of them get theirs. So there's just no good that can come of it. And I agree with you, Canadian. It's really stupid for anyone. Even if you think that your team is currently on the winning side, like I say, time has a habit of changing things in a real hurry. And even if you think that your side is dominating right now, well, that can change in a heartbeat. And if you realize, if you've been paying attention, you see how vicious, how lethal, and how divisive, and the outright vitriol that's been taking place, you can see that under all of that is a lot of pent-up anger, a lot of pent-up hostility. And if that ever does truly get unleashed or released, yeah, it's not good. And at that point in time, yeah, really, really difficult to try to put the genie back in the bottle. So yeah, don't let it get to that point. I mean, we're damn close. We're damn close. Like I say, I don't even know how we've lasted this long, but we have. And we should be super grateful and super thankful that we still, even now, even after that nasty, vicious assassination of Charlie Kirk, and the fact that it happened on video for not just his wife and kids, but millions and millions and tens of millions, who knows, maybe billions of people at some point in time to see with their own eyes. But we're still at least in a position where there's still not a civil war, right? There's still not large, giant, like gangs and factions of left and right wing out there battling like what's taking place in Ukraine currently or in the Gaza Strip, right? We still have the time. We still have the opportunity to try to tamp down these flames of divisions, to put our country on a better track where we could just leave the fuck each other alone. Just leave each other alone. Live and let live. All those little things that we learned as children, it's really vitally important that the adults in our countries think about these things, put them into proper perspective, and implement them in their own fucking lives. How the fuck is it we all knew as small children that violence is not the answer, right? That stealing is wrong, right? Lying, especially on a scale like we're seeing today, to the point where you misrepresent people so bad that a seemingly good man like Charlie Kirk can be gunned down and assassinated on a stage while he is actively out there trying to engage with his opponents. We still have time. We still have time. How long? I sure shit don't know. But for the last 14 or 15 years that I've been astutely observing what's been taking place, I don't know. I don't know how much longer the dam can hold. Something will eventually give. Mark my goddamn words. Not that I am advocating for it. I sure shit am not. But I can see, I have a pretty good sixth sense. Yeah, there's a little something in my stomach, in my gut that's telling me that, boy, we must be getting really, really close to that edge, to that precipice. But we're not there yet. Like I say, we still have time. And I'm just going to say this too, because I don't play for either team, and I'm not picking either tribe as to be the ones that are holier than thou versus the other ones that are the worst on the worst. Because I recognize and acknowledge that at the individual level, there's good and bad people that can be found on both sides, just like there's very evil and vile people that can be found. But here's the thing. I will just say this, and this is my opinion, my perspective. But like I say, it's a well-informed, properly thought about, and constantly, I have conversations in my mind, dialogue, constantly thinking about these things. And I got to tell you, I've reasoned it, and I've come to the logical conclusion that is, yes, both sides are capable of doing some bad things. Some individuals, I should say, from both sides have and can do some terrible things. But like I say, I've watched how this has unfolded. And it is, without a shadow of doubt in my mind, it is 100% the left. Those who are the advocates of this identity politics, this wokeism, this fucking constant divisive narrative, this constant pushing of everybody's in. It is the left, these progressives, these university teachers and professors. It's these hacks in the establishment media. It's these elitist so-called liberals, which no, they're not fucking liberals, and I won't ever describe them as liberals. They're collectivists, folks. They are not liberals. There is nothing liberal about these people except the fact they're willing to liberally use violence as a means to their end. And not just violence, but they'll lie about you. They will slander you. They'll libel you. They will do the most vicious things possible, like I say. And I have watched how this has unfolded. And it is them who started this fucking fight and who have been constantly. Here's what, when I conjure up a mental image of this shit, just think of someone walking in the woods and they see a bear. It's the fall. Winter's fastly approaching. The bear hasn't been doing well foraging, and they're as hungry as fuck. Let's call the bear, the average right winger, but they're just doing their thing. Not the bear can be vicious, no doubt about it. The bear can be very vicious and very dangerous. But here comes entering this dumb little fucking idiotic, weak, inept, bitter, resentful leftist. And for some goddamn reason, that's the thing. They believe that they've got a whole gang behind them, right? So they have the audacity, but they walk up to and they're poking. They poke at the bear. That requires, I don't know, like I say, there's something wrong with that person's mind, first of all, that you would want to even go fucking poke a bear. But that is what the left has been representing for the last, like I say, at least 14 years since I've been watching and observing. That is what they've been doing ever since that time. And it took me a while to figure this shit out. I didn't know especially the first couple of years, I was like, I didn't even listen. There are a lot of people who are against, like some of these idiots on the right, who I definitely am no fan of right wingers, like your George Bushes and shit, right? And I was right there with them, especially when they were like against the Iraq war. I was like, yeah, fuck, I'm right there with you. So I somehow found myself mingling with and even aligned somewhat with some of these leftists or these progressives. But boy, oh boy, let me tell you this. It did not take long before I found out, holy fuck, you disagree with anything that these people fucking promote or stand for, these ideologues, and you find out that they don't give a fuck about. Matter of fact, they targeted me so viciously. Well, I mean, and at that point in time, I was just like, okay, well, I can't deal with these people. So and now they're all in my rear view mirror for the most part. Now the only interactions engaging for the most part I get on them are the odd time I'll find like someone that's an actual liberal that wants to talk. But that's the thing. But when you talk to them, it's like, oh, well, then you're not anything. You're not even remotely resembling what these people that I'm talking about are. So there are some good people out there who identify as a liberal. But they usually will even add an extra word in there, classical. I'm a classical liberal, because even they don't want to align themselves with people who are currently calling themselves liberals these days. And for good fucking reason. Like I say, these people, I don't know if it's the SSRIs, all those medications they're on, the propaganda that they're constantly fed, their very entitled lifestyles. Because you got to remember, a lot of these people, right? I don't know if they're kids, but adults, but they're functionaries of the state. They haven't actually lived in what you or I would perceive of or actually acknowledge and know of as the factual real world. They've lived in their own self-sustained bubble. And it's easy to recognize it when you're an external observer like myself. And like I say, for them, if you're a left winger, although I don't think you'd be watching my kind of content because it's way too fucking reasonable and too rational for your brain. But maybe if one of your friends or someone that you know is one of these people, maybe you might want to talk to them and explain some of this stuff to them. Because it's really vitally important that if you even care about them, right? Some of these people that like to play identity politics or are part of the LGBTQ, because you know some of the stuff that was written on those casings, right? So, this definitely gives that ample opportunity for the right wingers to target a specific type of identity group. And there will be a lot of people who will turn their head and a blind eye to it and just, hey, whatever, man, you guys asked for it kind of the thing, right? I'm telling you, as someone who plays for neither side or neither team, you on the left, you identity politics pushing fucking fools, don't be so goddamn stupid. Because, like I say, when shit starts hitting the fan, there is no pause. This ain't a video game. This is real life. And you're going to really, really learn to live and regret the day that you ever contributed in any way to getting us to the point where we're at today. Because now your opponents aren't just a bunch of people screeching from the sidelines. Now your opponents have a figure like Trump, who's the president of the United States, the most powerful country on the planet, who has now been getting a lot of wins with the help of the Supreme Court, and who now, is in charge and has actually put a lot of his own type of people in charge of the FBI, the CIA, like the NSA. Now that big giant apparatus of the state that you folks build and use to clobber your opponents over the head with, well, now they're the ones that have the club. Now they're the ones in possession and control of that big gigantic club. And if you care about yourself or your fellow so-called progressives, then it would be really wise and astute at this point in time, at bare minimum, that you should, though, especially the biggest proponents, those of you out there who genuinely or typically like to play the clickbait shit and function in your echo chambers, now might be the time where you want to show a little bit of fucking reasonableness and start reaching across that political divide and being willing to have some very open dialogue, discussion, and debate with some reasonable people on the opposing side, which there are plenty, right? Or even people like myself who aren't from either side. It might be wise and astute of you at this point in time to start thinking about how beneficial it'll be to you and the people you care about to at least try to show some semblance of morality, of ethics, and principles, and say, you know what? Even if you supported the past, I no longer support this push for violence, intimidation, and coercion and theft as a means to an end, or to batter my opponents over. Because once again, we can see that the club is switching hands, and it can be just as viciously used against you. Anyways, let me read a few more of these comments. But like I say, thanks to all you folks who have joined the chat. Really appreciate that. Charlie is a martyr, and that's the opposite of what the stakes against us wanted. Hey, listen, I agree with you to that point. I really do. And like I say, I'm not happy either way. I mean, like I say, it's a terrible thing what transpired, what took place. It's a sad thing that father, that husband, lost his life so needlessly while he was out trying to engage with his opponents. But yes, like I say, just like with my own situation and any other situation you folks have ever been through, be wise about this stuff. Like I say, take advantage of the fact that we can be the ones to give the right message, the right understanding of the world around you, the importance of freedom of speech, the importance of individual rights and freedom, rather than collectivism or collective guilt and punishment. Because as we're seeing, that is the ideology, that is the mindset that is causing pain on both sides and death, I will add. So, like I say, at some point in time, whether it's now or later, at some point in time, you will all have to come around to understand the importance of live, let live, and individual liberty and rejecting collectivism. You will, I guarantee it. And if you want to greatly reduce any potential for violence or civil conflict in the future, now is the time to step up and do that. And especially and particularly those of you who have been sitting on the sideline, the silent majority. Listen, I get it. And I understand why a lot of you folks don't like to wade into this stuff. I understand how contentious it could be. I understand that it might mean you'll have some arguments, disagreements, or even fallouts with your family members, maybe some of your coworkers, maybe someone even in your immediate family circle. That has the potential. But if you're reasonable, if you articulate your thoughts with well-reasoned, logical, and ethically based, consistent principles and arguments backing you up, and they still want to walk away from you or they still want to do you harm, well, once again, that, as far as I'm concerned, is the garbage taken out itself. Why would you even want these people in your life to begin with? Why should they benefit from having someone as honest, articulate, and thoughtful as you when they are completely unwilling to reciprocate in kind? Anyways, yeah. Numb Canadian says, being a man, husband, and father comes with great responsibility. According to the RSMP, though, it means extreme. Yeah, what a fucking sad state of affairs. And listen, I'll just say right now, I'm no fan of the police, of the enforcers of the state, but I will just say this. When I was growing up, the kind of men, at least in the small communities that I grew up in, the kind of men who chose to become police officers at that particular time, I actually firmly believe they had the best intentions. They had the right goals, the right ideas in mind. And even those, if they were alive today or engaged in public discourse, maybe they do, will tell you the same thing. The kind of cop that says shit like that, he's doing a grave disservice for those who are actual good, decent police officers, not law enforcement, right? But the ones who seek to maintain peace and to criminally punish those who have done harm to others, right? There are good people in the past and the present, but once again, we're seeing that has got to the point, just like in our universities, where when the bad apples start filling up the basket, well, the good apples are either turn rotten or you take them out and remove them entirely, so to prevent that kind of spoil. So now what we're seeing is, yes, maybe historically there were just a few bad apples, but what we're seeing now is it's starting at the top, and these police, these law enforcement, these cops, these cowards, or these losers that want you to just allow people to steal from you, to rob from you, to what? Rape your daughters, to viciously attack you in your own home, right? These are not the good cops that we once knew or are portrayed on TV shows or in the movies. These are people that are, like I say, willing to be enforcers of the state under the current world we're living today. Yeah, not the best of the brightest, and most certainly not the most ethical or courageous. That is for sure. And if you're a cop and you get a chance to listen to this and you agree with me and are against these kind of cops, then speak up about it. Don't be cowardly. It takes that. It requires that, because there may be very others among your ranks that are just like you and sitting on the sidelines and unwilling to show that kind of courage. But if you do it, or you embolden them to do it as well. Like I say, the opponents of liberty, they follow each other's lead. Now, I'm not saying to do it hook, line, and sinker and to just emulate and replicate everything your size. But when you recognize something is right, something is proper, it's principled, and it's damn well the right thing to do, then yes, show the courage of your conviction and stand up and say, and count yourself among us that are willing to do so. Because at this particular junction is more important than it's ever been in the most recent past that I've seen. Very important for, like I say, not just the silent majority, but those who mostly sit in the sidelines to finally stand up and not necessarily take a side. Well, it is a side, but not the side of the left versus right, but the side that wants us to engage in dialogue, discussion, and debate, to try to hammer out these ideas, to figure out how we can live peacefully and prosperously amongst each other. That is what needs to take place. Stop siloing yourselves. Like I say, this is a message to the left and the right. Stop siloing yourselves, those of you who do, in your own echo chambers. Be like Charlie Kirk. Be willing to engage with your opponents. Be wise about it. As we're seeing today, you really got to be wise about what you're doing, because you don't want to end up like Charlie Kirk for your valiant efforts. But at the same time, the last thing that any of us want to do now is give these tyrants, these vindictive, petty, resentful, and envious collectivists, these evil, vile people, we don't want to give them any win. And a win is for people to stop trying to openly engage in dialogue, discussion, or debate with their opponents. This is actually a time to double down on those efforts, to try even harder to find a way to bring more unity under the guise of not left versus right, but under the guise of liberty, of mutual respect, of the live, let live mentality. That is something that, of the golden rule, that is something that we should all share in common. Once again, as children, we understood it. Why the hell has so many people forgot about the importance of those principles as full-grown adults? Well, I know why. You know why. It's the propaganda. It's the constant bullshit divisive narratives that, like I say, the culprits, and we know who they are. We don't have to name names, that are constantly stoking the kind of division that they're whipping up, the kind of hatred that they're whipping up on a daily and ongoing basis. Don't join them. Be vehemently against them so that they no longer feel comfortable in their dirt and their division. Hey, Liberty Plus TV, thanks for joining the live stream as well. Miss your videos, man. Hope you're doing well. Well, thank you very much. Well, I will just mention this, that here in probably a month and a half, in and around there, I will have lots of time, and I will be, just like I mentioned earlier on in the summer, before I stopped doing my live streams, is I'm definitely going to be back into it. I'm definitely going to get back into it. There might be some tweaks and changes. Like I say, even myself, I've gone through some personal growth, and I hopefully will continue to go through some personal growth. So there might be some minor tweaks and changes, like I say, but like I've said before, and I'll say time and time again, I'm never going anywhere. And I'm never going to forget what has transpired, what's taken place, or how vitally important it is to do the right things to stand up for freedom and liberty. The only difference is I've still been doing it. It's been just more in my personal and social life than online. I'm filling voids and gaps that no one else can fill. There's lots of you folks out here on the internet that can fill the voids and gaps in terms of helping people to understand the world around us. A lot of fine folks out there, but in my own little circle, I'm the one, right, that's got to steer that ship. And I've been trying to do that myself. And like I say, it's been rewarding, and I'm going to continue to do so. But I also, like I say, my family is most important, but me and my family, we have to live in the rest of the world, not just in our community. We're not just confined to our homes or our community. We have to live in the world at large. Like, we travel, we do things, right? So as with we want the best kind of, not just community, but we want the best kind of world possible out there, which is beneficial to us as well as everyone else. And like I say, if it means having to do the balancing act from time to time with my online engagements and activity and my personal stuff, like I say, I'll find that balance somehow, some way. I won't always get it perfect. I won't always get it right, but I'm always going to put in an effort that I can say with certainty. I, for one, promote courage out of this and not to revert into fear of living life. I wasn't raised to cower to mob mentality. Right on, David. You are that to me, that's bang on. And that is the mentality that we all should prioritize going forward from this point. Even if you weren't doing so in the past, that's something that you need to do going forward. And like I say, at the very least, bare minimally, we're not at the shores of the beaches of Normandy. We're not storming those shores. We're not in the mud-drenched trenches of World War I, right? We're not, in the thick jungles of Vietnam, right? We are at the very least in a situation where we still can use our words to try to affect real change in the world around us. And we need to take advantage of that and show that kind of courage, because that courage is what emboldens others. It's that mirror-like thing. The minute you do it, someone else is going to replicate it. You might not see that, but rest assured, it will take place. You will inspire others to do the same, which is why it's so vitally important for not just a few people, but more and more of us to show the audacity and the willing to do so. Let me just point out Jeff Everly as a guy, as someone, I didn't know who he was for the longest time. I didn't even know about his online activism, but I know his name now, and so do a tremendous amount of other Canadians. And it was from one very, very courageous act of defiance and willingness to stand up for individual rights and freedoms by going there and choosing to get a $28,000 fine for doing nothing more than walking in the woods. But he did that not just for him and his loved ones and his family. He did that for the rest of us as well, to set a precedent, to lead by example, to inspire and encourage others to do the same. And every little incident of things like that happens, that transpires, like I say, you might not see it with your own eyes or hear it with your own ears, but I guarantee you are affecting real change and positive change in the minds of many others. And the more of us that do that, like I say, it becomes contagious, folks. And when you get to enough people who's doing it, well, it becomes even that much easier for those who are still a little bit more cowardly or conformist and unwilling to do so. It'll work in levels to the point where even the most fearful will finally rise up in defiance of the tyranny and the authoritarianism. And not only will it help us by showing that we are in a much better place, but it'll help them out as well, because their minds will be in a much better place. Yeah. So what else? I'm just trying to think. I was going to use some of these posts. I'm going to talk about a few posts, and there's a lot. There really is a lot. Oh, and let me just say this too, because yes, I agree. In addition to Charlie Kirk and that terrible situation and his loss of life, let us not forget of this other one. Now, I don't know nearly as much about this story as with a lot of people, but I will just point this out, that is, let's not forget about this young girl that was on the subway, this Irina Zarutska, this Ukrainian girl from Ukraine, I should say, who was viciously stabbed herself. It's not just people like Charlie Kirk. There's others, and who knows how many other stories that maybe aren't quite as prominent, of people who are being targeted for their views, for their skin color, for who they are, for their sex, whatever the reason is, but for no other reason other than this kind of divisive identity politics that's been front and center and jammed in our face for year and year on end. Let's not forget about those people. And let's, honor them by trying our best to make the world a better place going forward for those who are still here, still with us. But anyways, I just wanted to play this little video here. It's less than 3 minutes, but this was one of the ones that kind of got me, and I thought, this is great. This is great, and I think it's well-meaning and sends a great message. Oh wait, I gotta bring it. Yeah, it's been a while, so yeah, I got to bring this onto the screen. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it's been a little while. And of course, the layout nowadays is way, way different than it used to be on StreamYards. I'm noticing there's a lot of new things on StreamYards. So there's a lot I still got to get caught up on, but I have time. I have time to do that. But for now, let's just check this out, like I say.
I've never ever opened the Bible before. In fact, I know nothing about Christianity or Jesus. But yesterday, after witnessing the assassination of Charlie Kirk on the internet, and it just being so normal to people, like watching this man get shot in the neck, and everybody being so desensitized and just going on with life like it was normal. Something was calling me to my husband's Bible. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law, my husband, they have been trying to bring me to Christianity, since I met them. They're not like overbearing, they don't force it on me, but like, they talk about it. And they respect that, like, I don't know how I feel. But for the very first time yesterday, I grabbed the Bible. I don't know what I'm looking for in the Bible. I don't know why I felt like I needed to grab the Bible. But I grabbed my husband's Bible. And the page that I opened up to was the verse John 8:32. And it said, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And I feel like that changed me so much, because up until yesterday, I leaned both ways politically. I am pro-life, but I also believe women should have autonomy over their bodies. I don't care if someone is gay, but I don't want sexuality pushed on my children in school.
Sounds like she's a libertarian.
I believe in the Second Amendment, but like it also makes me sad that bad guys have guns too. I've never voted before, but after yesterday, I know where I stand. I will never cast a blue vote. I am convinced that the Democratic Party is ran by the devil himself. And I know I'll get hate for saying this, and I don't care. But I feel like Charlie Kirk's death, woke me up spiritually, and now I can't unsee the truth.
Yeah, little heart wrenching. I'll admit that's a rough one, folks. But it's true. It is true. And the one thing I will say, and it's not that I, like I say, try to push religion on people, but I will say, for myself and for everyone I've ever known, there are just some great stories. There are some great ethics. There are some great principles that can be found in that Bible. So that's so well written, so well thought out, so well articulated that, like I say, it can have a profound effect for anybody. And not just profound, but a very positive effect for people. Anything is possible that could be used for bad, but especially for the New Testament and the teachings of Jesus Christ, you'd be hard pressed. Like I say, there's definitely things in the old Bible, the Old Testament, that you could find where it's like, yeah, maybe not a big fan. But like I say, the New Testament in particular, the teachings, the story of Jesus, the things he stood for, anyone that I've ever known that learns of these things, it brings positivity into their life. So I agree with this woman. Might not be the worst idea possible to pick that Bible up and maybe read a verse or two. Oh yeah, Liberty Plus TV. The problem is there is no plan on the left to slow down. Well, this is the thing, right? This is the issue. But I will just say this. You can't rely on the left, your opponents doing the right thing. That's something that you have no control over. None of us. As desperate as we wish that we could find some way to reach to these people, maybe it'll never get to that point. I mean, think about how bad things have gotten in the past, right? How many millions of people died when division and identity politics rears its ugly head. It may not even be humanly possible for some of them to ever wish to turn around. But I hope you believe this too, believe that most human beings, whether they're left, right, or anywhere in between, have enough decency at their core that when things get, everyone has their own thing when they figure out when things reach that point. But when people get the point where they're reaching that point, it's like, oh shit. Yeah, I gotta make a choice here. It's now or never. This is the time for me to finally. I firmly believe that most people will err on the side of the good, of those who don't advocate for violence, of those who stand for liberty. I believe most people will. So don't worry about if the left has a plan. It would be nice if some of these figureheads on the left, the major proponents of all this identity politics and division, did see the light of day. Maybe took a look in the mirror long and hard enough that they said, you know what? Yeah, I just got to stop this shit. It's getting too bad at this point in time. There's just too much shit. There's too much death that's taking place. But don't rely on that. Hope for it. Pray for it even. But don't rely on it. That's where, and this is an area where, once again, where Jordan Peterson actually shines. There's a lot of stuff I can find to disagree with the man, but where that man shines is in his message to young people, and men in particular, is to carry your burden, right? And to do the right thing in spite of others not. To hold yourself to a higher standard. To inspire others to do the same. Like I say, there's no way in hell you can change your opponent, their mindset, not through any kind of battle or seemingly even discourse. Well, in particular, not discourse, if they're not even willing to engage. That person that's unwilling to engage, that person that wants to shoot you or cancel you or have you fired for having a different perspective or opinion, yeah, they're not someone that you're going to be able to reason with. Forget about them. Like I say, they are a tiny minority. Sure, they got access to major bully pulpits, professors in these universities, these hacks in the media who have wide-reaching audiences and stuff, right? And can get their ideas out to sizable portions of the population. But once again, most people at the end of the day, when the shit truly starts hitting the fan, will really, and not necessarily out of benevolence, but for their own rational self-interest, realize that we got to do the right thing, or at least side with those who want to do the right thing. Or even absent those things, at least not actively participate and help those who are trying to stir up this kind of division and bring about this kind of violence. Keep that in mind. This optimism is completely unworthy. Hey, listen, I hear you. I hear you. And I mean, I could bring all kinds of pessimism. Trust me. That's just part of my mind. That's what that is that's just me thinking. That's me and where I want my mind to be. That's what you're seeing in real life, in real time, live stream while I'm sitting here in front of a couple screens with my computer in my room, in my den. That's me trying to be positive. Of course, I could bring lots of pessimism and negativity. There's tons of it out there. Tons of it. That would be easy, actually. Matter of fact, it would be really, really easy for me right now. I actually feel it. I feel it in my being. So easy to whip up my anger. right? Real easy to bring my anger out on me right now, just thinking about some of the things that have transpired. And not just the most recent event of Charlie Kirk, but some of the countless other things that I've reported on over the last 14, 15 years. I mean, just a couple of those things would be enough to make any rational, reasonable human being angry. And there's nothing wrong with anger. It is an emotion. It is a reaction that we all have within inside. We're all capable of anger, and for good reason. It helps steer and guide us. If we use logic and ethics and well-reasoned stances in our mind to balance it out. But like I say, for me to bring the pessimism and negativity, I find that it might even get me more views, more eyeballs on this. But I always keep front and center. Like I say, and I sway from time to time. I am not perfect, but I always keep the main goal in focus. And if my goal is to hopefully bring about a better life for me and my loved ones, and make sure that the people that we're surrounded with aren't a bunch of vile, evil, despicable, authoritarian tyrants, I have to try to at least lead by the example and try to show the better side of me and be the better man in these situations. Like I say, real easy for me to let anger get the best of me. Real easy to start banging my fist on this table and talk about revenge and retaliation. And listen, there are people out there right now, I guarantee it, who are doing that. And I can't even hate on them, because I understand that human emotions play a very key and pivotal role in our lives, and it guides us in ways that sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's bad. And like I say, it's going to happen, it's going to transpire, it's going to take place. But for the kind of people that typically like to watch my live streams or my content, I want us, at least those of us, the others, like I say, I don't know, but for those of us that, like I say, are in this particular mindset, this, I think, is the way to properly deal with things, to try to find, that ray of sunlight, that bit of positivity, that one thing that may inspire you to do great things, rather than place yourself in a position to do something that you might think is great at the time, but ultimately causes more harm than good. And I firmly believe that any retaliation at this particular time will only bring about a worse result, a worsening world, a faster pace to that bottom that some of us seem to be so hell-bent on trying to get to. There are people on this planet that seem to just want to go to hell. They don't even want to die to go to hell. They want to bring about hell on earth. Maybe it's because that's how they live in their mind. To them, they're already in hell on earth. They live it every day in their minds. Well, I know those people exist. I don't want to join them. And I don't want anyone that I know to join them. That's a terrible, terrible place to be. I want the people that I surround myself, the people who watch my content, I want them to be in good places in their mind. I want them to bring about positive change. I want them to be leaders, real leaders, and lead by example so that others will emulate them. That is my goal. Like I say, if you want the clickbait, or if you want the vitriol and the hatred and the divisive rhetoric, like I say, I'm quite sure you can find that all over the place today. And I don't even begrudge you if that's the case, right? But at the very least, you got to listen to a few things I had to say. So maybe that can help balance things out to you. But I get it. Hey, Liberty Plus TV, I'm with you. I kind of understand where your mind's at. And yeah, I'm not hating on you, man. I understand. I understand. Anger, like I say, is an emotion, and it's an emotion for a reason, especially when you see what transpired. If you don't get emotional after an event like that took place, or like say that young girl, if that doesn't stir up your emotions, then matter of fact, I'd have a problem with you, because that would suggest to me that you're a sociopath. So at the very least, You're a person that cares, Liberty Plus, and good on you for caring about this stuff. It will get worse before it gets worse. Plan accordingly, learn skills, train those skills, and lead the pathway to truth. That's some good advice, Numkeen. And yes, it will get worse. I always try to put some positive spin on it, but as much as I try to, I have to acknowledge, even in my own life, I'll just say, even in my own life, it's a sad reality that we humans need things to get so fucking bad before we learn valuable lessons or change course. Myself, I'm guilty of it myself. I had to go through some real fucking hell for me to put myself on a better path going forward. Could I have done it in the absence of that hardship? I don't fucking know. Because if I could have, I probably would have done it before that, right? So yeah, I get it. Things are probably going to get worse, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be all encompassing. Certain things are going to get worse, but the one thing that you can protect and keep in good standing is your mindset. That's the one thing that you have absolute control over and nobody else does, is your mindset and how you deal with everything that's transpiring, taking place, and how you can live amongst the people that you love and be good for yourself and be good for them. That is so important. And those other skills, yeah, as you know, and as you point out, Numkey, there are a lot of other skills, right, that you might not need to hone, because we don't know where things are going from here, right? I'd rather be well prepared or even overly prepared and maybe not even need it than be woefully or inadequately prepared for what's barreling down the tracks only to get run over, right? So yes, be prepared, learn some skills, many different skills that are going to help you. And like I say, not just help you, but help others well. Good, but that's good advice. Hey, Sean Vision, what's going on, man? Nice to see you in the chat as well. Hello to you. Good afternoon. It does seem there might be a time where I may have to defend my family. And as a man, I don't believe I can be a pacifist in the case of attacks on the weak, even according to scripture. Hey, listen. Well, please don't misconstrue, David, that when I say this stuff or that I'm talking in a pacifist manner, I'm talking for those of us, right, who haven't been personally attacked. It wasn't your husband, your wife. I get it. And, for those who it did directly affect, I mean, it seems like they're such amazing people that they don't even seemingly seek out retaliation. But would I understand if someone wanted vengeance against the person that took their loved one away? 100%. And do I expect and respect anyone who will step up and defend their loved ones or the good people in their life or their community? Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I would never suggest not doing that. But we just got to weigh and measure these things into what it's going to do for us at the individual level and how much it will benefit everyone else at the community or at the social or at the level of the nation. It is a fine balancing act in how you deal with things. But yes, if somebody comes for my family, rest assured, I'm no pacifist. Somebody comes to cause any harm to my family, I will be there not only to defend them, but to make sure that justice is served on anyone who ever does. So yeah, don't take the fact that I'm just advocating for people to be a little bit wiser and astute and thinking about these things today, right? Don't take that for any show or sign of weakness, or that I'm even remotely a pacifist, because I most certainly am not. And anyone that has ever known me in my personal and my social life will tell you that I don't go looking for a fight, but if it comes to me, yeah, they usually never come back again. I'll make it as difficult as fuck for you to try to cause harm to me or those I love. So yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there, David. If the time comes and you need to defend your loved ones, well, by all means. That's what we do. That's what we're here for, to protect and provide. Rebecca Downey, very nice to see you in the chat, Rebecca. Side note, will anyone be in Ottawa tomorrow? What's going on in Ottawa? Actually, I'm not sure what's taking place. Is it some kind of a spectacle or event? If you wouldn't mind actually adding maybe a little bit further down the chat, Rebecca, what if there's a particular event taking place, and if it's something that I seen that might be interesting or worthwhile, I'll help promote it as best I can. So yeah, just put it down there in a subsequent comment if you wouldn't mind. But thanks again for joining the stream. Yeah, not play up into the no. I get. Hey, listen, David. I already know you're a good dude, man. So don't worry, bro. Don't give up, bro. Thanks, Ray Provost. Oh, I'm never giving up. Never, 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 ever will I give up. Matter of fact, that time will probably happen about 3 or 4 seconds after I take my last breath. That at that point in time, I think I'm pretty much at the point where I just have to give up, right? But not until, not until. Yeah, golden rule. Exactly. The golden rule. So simple. So simple. So simple we can understand it as children. But strangely enough, propaganda can fucking completely remove that from a sizable portion of our population's brain entirely once they become adults and have been educated. Think about it. These are the people, especially a lot of the left, highly educated, they say. Really? Yeah, they've completely sullied and destroyed the word education and being educated, as far as I'm concerned. I know this young atheist streamer who left the left, Indian Jesus on YouTube. I feel like you two would have a great conversation. Have you considered reaching out to other creators? Actually, I have their Liberty Plus TV. I may very well do that again. Well, actually, I will be doing that again once I get back into the thick of things. There's actually a lot of people that I've kind of got simmering on the back burner who I never got a chance. And because I wasn't quite ready at that time to start going back into the doing interviews and stuff, I did kind of keep them kind of on the back. But yeah, once I start doing things, yes, I'm going to be reaching out to lots of people. And if you want, actually, I'll just mention right now, Canadian Libertarian at protonmail.com if you want to send me, or Canadian Libertarian at gmail.com. Those are, one is an encrypted email. The other is just Gmail. So depending on, if you want complete absolute privacy encryption, then send it to me on the Proton. And if you don't really care, just send it to me on Gmail. And remind me of who this particular person is, or maybe give me some contact information, and we'll go from there. Because I love to talk to other people, and not necessarily just people who agree with me. That's another thing I'll point out right now. Matter of fact, I love to engage in the battle of ideas, especially and particularly if they're honest, good faith arguments. But hey, I'm even willing to engage. Right? I'm not much into the clickbait and sensationalized shit. But if there's some, violent leftist who wants to, I'll go toe to toe with anybody, in terms of having dialogue or debate. I'll talk to you. And when it comes to my opponents, I definitely want your audience, not just my opponent, but I want their audience. Bring your audience with you so they can learn some fucking reasonableness, some common sense, and some good judgment, and what principles and ethics and morality and what freedom even means. Or hey, they might even learn what it means to be a free human being, which is something that's sadly absent from the minds of the overwhelming majority of people among us. And I'm telling you, not just liberals, not just progressives, but a whole lot of conservatives as well, have no clue. They're all still playing at the political level and have no idea as to what the philosophy of liberty even entails, what it means, or what it is to be a free human being. It's a sad reality that there's that many people among us that don't have this kind of grasp or understanding on such a basic tenet, right? But it is a reality. That's the power of propaganda. That's the power of indoctrination. That's why it always and forever has to start and begin when we're all just small children. That's how it sticks, and reinforced by all of our peers at the same time. That's another important caveat and aspect of how they maintain the power over our minds. Well, not mine, not yours. You folks watching this stream, most of you are probably very much awake and aware as to what's transpiring, what's taking place, and what it means to be a free human being. But sadly, we're vastly outnumbered as of yet. Hopefully that'll change, but TBD, right? I always followed you, man. YouTube kicked my old account for words. Ha ha ha. You may remember me, Corey W. Oh, yeah, Corey W. for sure. If you don't, no big deal. Always appreciate your work. Oh, I 100% remember you, Corey W. I definitely do. Like I say, I'm actually kind of, whether you want to call it fortunate or unfortunate, some days it's like, if you care about getting your message out to a larger and larger audience, sometimes it's a little crushing to the to your goals, right? When your audience isn't massive or huge, but there's other aspects out of it. So the fact that I'm still small enough, still have a small enough audience that, yeah, I actually do remember you, and probably most people, if not all the ones that have followed my content for years, because that is one thing about it. And I kind of get, even when Molyneux says, like with when he got, kind of canceled and nobody was willing to go website over. I have, always will, right? I still follow Stefan Molyneux. I still watch his content. Never stopped. But yeah, I kind of get when he says, well, now I'm just like playing in a small lounge instead of at a big concert hall, right? It's like, well, sometimes that small lounge, can be even more endearing and a pretty good place, to be honest with you. And like I say, I've met some great fellow travelers, including yourself, Corey. And I know that's been years and years and years. A lot of us. And a lot of us came out of the whole Ron Paul presidential run 2012, and the kind of message of liberty that he brought that inspired us all. I mean, he was the one that sparked that flame in me, that flame of liberty. And it's only grown brighter ever since. It's an amazing journey that I've been on. And I know people like yourself have been on that with me, and it's been great. And yeah, 100%. I remember you, Corey. Matter of fact, hey, if you ever want to get on and have a chat, you don't even have to show your face, man. If you ever want to come on, like, and you want to remain someone anonymous, right? That you can just do it in audio form, and we can have a live stream discussion, or for that matter, hey, even if you want to do it where it's just something that I record and upload after the fact, it's totally up to you. But yeah, if you ever want to engage any dialogue, discussion, or even debate for that matter, because I know it'd be a good faith argument, yeah, let me know, and we'll make that happen. Networking is very important, right? If we want to steer people towards liberty, 100%, you are 100%. And I will just say this, that is an area where I've failed and faltered. And I do believe there is a bit of an ego. I do really try. Trust me, I do try to keep my ego in check. But I have this thing where it's like I've always wanted to, if I achieve or attain any amount of success, and that includes my online activities, right? I want it to be because I'm merit-based, right? So I want it to be because of me. And when I reach out now, as you know, if you look through my past interactions, engagements, and dialogue, I've talked to a lot of people. As a matter of fact, it's probably been hundreds of people that I have talked and had, like I say, live stream conversation with. But most of the time, they're people that either have a similar size following or even less of a following. Because when it comes to the people that have the big followings, I get this weird thing about, oh, I'm hanging on their coattails, and I get it. That's my own internal thing, right? And like I say, I'm fallible like everybody, but that's kind of my internal monologue when I'm thinking of these things. Is, yeah, I don't want to get a large audience just because I'm, using their audience to listen to me, like basically trying to get my foot into their channel so that I can maybe, get some of their audience for myself. I would feel kind of, I don't know, I feel a little dirty trying to do that, but I get it. That's probably my own thing. Because if you put the flip side of that on, there's probably a whole lot of positive benefits that would vastly outweigh any of those concerns I have regarding that. That would probably be very beneficial for us all. So yeah, I think you're right about that. I think now is probably the time that maybe a little bit more effort on the networking and reaching my tentacles out to maybe some of the larger channels and platforms. That probably is something that I'm going to have to try to strive for going forward. And if I do, that'll be, like I say, when I get my opportunity here in about a month and a half where I got a lot more time on my hands. But yeah, good thing to point that out. And yeah, I take your words to heart. I used to be ANCAP TV. Oh, okay, right on. Cool. Feels like a lifetime ago when I first found this guy. Oh, right on. ANCAP TV. That's awesome. Right on. Liberty Plus TV. Hey, they're both great names as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I think I remember ANCAP TV even as well. Like I say, some great, nice to see that. I was a little worried because I haven't done a live stream in a while. I was a little worried. Is anybody going to see this? Is anybody even going to care? Although, I've as my wife could attest to, like, I'm more than willing to talk to you, even if there's just one or two people. No, I'll still sit down and talk to you. But I'm pleasantly surprised to see that there's been quite a few people that have stumbled across this live stream, and hopefully some of what I've got to say, and hopefully some of these great comments that I've brought onto the screen that others are contributing will help others to put things in perspective and give them the proper mindset going forward. Hopefully, like I say, all we can do is try. Yeah, it is true. It is true. That's the crazy thing, right? You go to school and there's history as a class, right? English, and reading and writing songs. But what are they being taught, though? Really, right? What are they being taught? Obviously not the right things, which is why, and I've said this many times before too, it's like, damn, folks, we live in the age of information. You don't need public schools to be highly educated and properly informed. And now that we're even seeing some of these upstarts coming out, like, what's Jordan Peterson University, and there's a bunch of other, there's Liberty University, there's just so many other ways. There's homeschooling, like I say, there's a plethora of and even for small children, like I'll just mention the Tuttle twins. Shout out Danilo Caliro, a friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in a while, who I think is also a contributor to the Tuttle twins. But there's a plethora of amazing information to help all of us get properly educated and informed, in not just in terms of academics, but philosophy, history, all of these things. We should all be taking full advantage of the fact that we live in the information age. And that old saying is as true now as it ever been, is in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. So yeah, get as many people out there, find as much resource and information as you can, and help getting people up to speed. That's really, really important. Check out my playlist. This video will be in the Canadian Liberty playlist. Right on. Really appreciate that. Well, I'll just mention that as well. And good for you, Liberty Plus TV. I'll mention this as well. If anyone else out there, I've said this on many past videos and live streams, is I do this to be shared. So it doesn't even have to come from my own platforms. As long as, nobody's going to try to claim it for themselves, right? Well, which you can. I mean, it's me in it. So it's no doubt it's my content. It's me in it, right? So I'm not even worried about anything like in terms of anyone misrepresenting that it's their content. Kind of hard to do that. But yeah, if you want to download any of my videos and live streams and put them on your own platforms, if you feel they're even worthy of something that you want to do that. I say to anyone, if you want to do that, by all means, download it, upload it to your own platforms, and try to get the kind of message out that I send to as many people as possible, and let them see, like I say, some of these great comments as well, and realize that, yeah, there are lots of people out here who are trying their best to navigate through all this shit and try to figure out the best path going forward that's going to tamp down the flames of division and put us all on a path of more prosperity, more peace, and less of this identity politics shit that is just dragging us all down into the doldrums, right? That's how God works. He'll show us what we need to see when we take an interest. I used to be a total drug addict, alcoholic, violent horse's ass until I took an interest, and he's been working on me. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome, David. And trust me, I'll tell you myself, and I'm sure everyone in this chat has their own, dark sides of them, or dark times in their life, or maybe a skeleton or two in their closet. And yeah, I'm no exception to the rule. I've done some things in my past that I wasn't proud of, but what has really helped me is I've proved to myself, I've proved to my family, I've proved to the people around me that care about me and love me, that even when things are bad, even when things are dark, we all have within us that free will. And if you have the right kind of people, the right kind of passion, the right kind of ideas that come your way, and the ethics, that the sky's the limit. You can dig yourself out of any hole you might have dug yourself in the past. So yeah, that's once again, that's just me showing the positivity of, like I say, you can be in a dark place, you can do some bad things, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And I'll admit, just like David, it's not just my family, but it's all those teachings and those stories of the Bible that my grandmother, insisted on pumping into my head constantly when I was a kid. And I'm very grateful for the fact that she did that. It has paid dividends for me for the entirety of my life. Like I say, not always. Like I say, there's going to be times in my life you can find where, I faltered and I failed. But what has helped me to dust myself up, get back on my feet, and try to better myself are all those inspirational stories, all those great messages and meanings. And the fact that I have an amazing family that loves me for who I am, and I love them for who they are. These things, are so vitally important. And I think you folks realize that. And there's a lot of people, and a lot of them, I would say, even on the left, that sadly may never come to learn how important that stuff is in their lives. It's a sad reality. They'd be in a much better place if they had learned it, if they had these understanding, these principles, this knowledge. It would steer them in a much, much better direction. I guarantee you that. So yeah, that's why we kind of do what we do, right? We're trying to, hopefully, like I say, even if it's just one here, one there, hopefully they'll see and hear this stuff, and they themselves will turn themselves around. Because once again, that's the beauty of free will. We all have the capacity. That's what was it, Solzhenitsyn, right? The root of evil or something goes through the heart of every man. We all have within us, just like with the Bible, the teaching of good and evil. We all have within us to sin, and we all do sin. But we all have within us to rise above those sins and to be forgiven of those sins and to do better and to make that promise, that obligation, that commitment to not continue on that sinful path. Yeah, the Psalms. Yep. That's great. Like I said, that was another thing. Psalm. And my grandmother. So much of that stuff resonates with me because of my grandmother. The golden trinity for me: mental, physical, spiritual. Got these three in order, and my armor's strong. Right on. Right on. Awesome. That is great. Well, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. Yes, I got my body back in good health, and the rest seemed to fall in place. Yeah, man, I never understood the reasoning behind it. I had enough people around me, and I have a pretty good metabolism rate, so I was always most of my life in good health. But yeah, as I got older, it's really put things into perspective and how important it is. Yes, physical health. And how much that does. I'm so with you there, David. How much that does, not just your physical health in terms of, staving off illnesses and stuff like that, and give yourself, better physical capabilities and endurance, but how it does help with your mind, with your mental health as well. It's quite amazing, really. But yes, a healthy body and a healthy mind, it's really, really important. But yeah, yep. You got it, David. You got it. No, it's all good. It's all good. You know me. I just over-explain everything. I'm not even, I guess I should say I'm not even necessarily saying that you were insinuating that was a pacifist, but just in case there was any confusion on anyone else that was listening, right? So it's just me being overly zealous to clarify things. That's all. That's all. No big deal. Well, thank you kindly. I try. And if I am, it's only because I've done it a lot, as with anything in life, I guess, especially if you strive. I've always been the kind of person that I do strive to attain, higher skills in anything that I undertake. But yes, I've been doing it a long time. So I hope I'm getting a little better at it. But thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm just going to go scroll down here a little more because I want to see if that question was answered in terms of what's going on in Ottawa, but no, I don't see anything yet. But I am going to scroll down just a little bit more here. Sanika, what's going on? I see you in the chat, Saniko. Well, in Lethbridge, Alberta, we have a leader of Antifa as a teacher in junior high. There needs to be an ideological job loss of bad actors. Well, this is the thing. Like, if you are, I will just say this, as a teaching profession, yeah, celebrating. I don't care if you're right, left, or anywhere in between. No teacher, it is highly inappropriate. And I agree that it should be a fireable offense. If you're a teacher who's supposed to be teaching academics and you're promoting ideologies, dangerous, violent ideologies, or celebrating the death of any human being, well, especially a human being that he himself, like someone like Charlie Kirk, a family man who didn't never cause any harm to anyone else, right? If you're doing that stuff, yes, but I will emphasize this. For these people who are just out in the street or on their phones using TikTok or whatever the hell means they're using, and they're just, right, privately or on a public space, and it's not part of their occupation, if they're just out there celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, as much as I think they're vile, despicable people, I don't believe that we should be using the apparatus of the state to silence them either. Like I was saying very early on the stream. Matter of fact, the kind of people who are so vile and so evil that they will celebrate the death of a family man who was just preaching good family values. And as far as I'm concerned, decent ethics, a decent way to live, and even engaging with his opponents in a multitudes of ways to try to bring them to some semblance where they can find some common ground. If you're celebrating that, you're a vile, despicable piece of shit, and I would want nothing to do with you. And I'll just use my freedom of speech as well to point out that you're a piece of shit. You're slime. You're worse. You're some of the worst kind of people in society for doing such things. But as a staunch advocate, proponent, and defender of individual liberty and freedom of speech, let them say what they got to say. And like I say, at the very least, we know who they are. And the fact that they're publicly willing to put themselves on display like that, it's like, good. I'm glad I know. Because like I say, if that fucking person was my neighbor, yeah, I'd like to know that my neighbor's a piece of shit. That way I'll keep my eye on them. I'll keep an eye out for them because they may very well prove to be a danger or a potential threat in the future. So yes, don't silence people. I firmly believe that sunlight is the best disinfectant. But jobs, workplaces, and other things like that, yes, there are rules in your job. And a rule should be that as a teacher, that yes, if you are teaching your kids to celebrate the death of a peace-loving man who was gunned down needlessly by a violent piece of shit, if you're advocating for that or promoting that anyway, yes, you should be fired. And you do not deserve to be in any position of authority to be teaching children, no matter what their age are, young or old. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. That's some fucked up stuff. Okay, so no, I'm not seeing she didn't reply, I guess, on the thing about Ottawa. So like I say, I'm not sure what exactly is going on in Ottawa. If I had known or got a subsequent follow-up comment, I would offer my opinion or perspective on it, but since there isn't anything as of yet, I won't worry about that. Let's see. I'm just going to close up here too and see. There's I'm probably not going to keep this live stream going for too much longer. What am I at 153? Actually, you know what? There was a whole bunch of stuff that as per usual, right? But as you folks know, I try to, I guess this is just me in a nutshell, right? I guess that's what led me to being a libertarian too, is I'm not very good at having everything, well regimented, right? There are people who are, and I get it. And I applaud them, those who are really good at putting everything together and having speeches all laid out and, having everything in order and talking points and bulletins and being able to stay right on point. And listen, I admire them for doing that. I am not that kind of person. I don't know if I'll ever be that kind of person. I actually did, believe it or not, I actually did write down a few points, right, that I did at least want to try to emphasize. And I think for the most part, I did cover them. But as you folks know, once I'm doing this stuff, it's just, I don't know. I get into this mindset where I'm just talking and I'm going to talk. And I just feel like there's people on the other side who are listening. So I just want to go. And like I say, sometimes it might not come across, the most well articulated or thought out, but basically at the end of the day, what you are getting is my raw thoughts, my internal monologue, sometimes even dialogue, but in verbal form on a live stream. Because this is just my thoughts, like I say, put to words while I'm doing a live stream. And sometimes it turns out good, sometimes not so much. But like I say, at the very least, you folks know I'm authentic. It comes from the heart and my mind, and I don't hold nothing back. I'll speak about anything, any point of contention, it doesn't matter what the subject matter or the topic, because I'm familiar enough and confident enough in how my mind works and the kind of processes that I'm willing to do this stuff on the fly in real time and just take it for what it is. And however it comes out, it is what it is. Right. But I do recognize that there is at least enough of you people out there who seem to think I do a fairly decent job as well. So that's kind of what keeps me going. Because I'm not going to sit on the sidelines. If there's anything that I can offer, if there's any way that I can help in any way to try to make this world a better place for us all, I'm going to put in the effort. I'm going to put in the work. Like I say, it might not be the same amount of work or effort that others might do. There might be others that are even more disciplined than me. And I kudos to them for how they bring their information to the table, because that's the beauty of the power of ideas and the power of the market, which is just a representation of all of us. We're all individuals. We all have our own unique way of bringing things to the table. And like I say, it's that culmination and that multi-pronged approach I think is best suited for the fact that we are all individuals, right? It should never be a one size fits all approach, because we are all unique individuals, and some things work for some and other things work for others. And it's great that there is that multitude that will hopefully reach out eventually to as many people as possible. And like I say, if we can somehow manage to think about how the history books would be written, if we can, through the power of words, through the power of ideas, in conjunction with all this technology we have at our disposal. People talk about social media as if it's some evil thing, right? No, it's just like with anything. It could be used for good and bad. But the fact that we all have access to it, and we live in the information age, like I've said, I have coined it the Enlightenment Era 2.0. That's what we're currently undertaking. If we could get through this and avoid massive civil strife or violent conflict, or even global, as far as that goes, if we can manage to keep it in the realm of dialogue and words, then wow, what a great advancement. What a massive stride for humanity to take if we can manage to do that and come out on the other side of it without having to engage in such vicious, relentless, and deadly conflicts that has transpired and taken place so many times in the past. If we can manage to avoid that and do things in the proper manner going forward, we can be not just the recipe, but the formula that others can use to advance and build on that going forward. So, like I say, we humans, we definitely take a step back. But if the right people get their voices out there, for every step back we take, we can advance 2 more steps. So there's going to be setbacks. It's going to be like a roller coaster. There's going to be ups and downs, but we're going to always strive for the best. Whether we attain it or not, that's to be determined, but we're still going to put in the effort and hope for the best. Anyways, thanks to all you folks who did join the live stream and offered such great comments and information. I really appreciate that. You guys, once again, have proven me time and time again, and you continue to do so. And hopefully you'll follow my content as I get back into the thick of things even more so. But yeah, thanks for always being there and bringing your thoughts to the forefront, your information. And because, like I say, it's you folks, You are the fuel for me. You're what drives me. It's knowing that there are people like you out there, in addition to my family and my loved ones, of course. You're the ones that kind of help me and inspire me to continue on doing what I'm doing. And I'm very grateful for you for doing so. And hopefully you're all going to have a great day and, a good time of your life. And hopefully you're all in a good position where you can help inspire others as well. Because like I say, we're all doing our part, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all who have joined the live stream. Anyways, I'll let this one be tied up for today. I'll do a next one. Like I say, I'm not exactly sure. I'll just kind of give you folks a little bit of a notice when I do, so that it's not dropped on you too quickly. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the week that's coming up. And embrace your loved ones, and just cherish every moment that you do have with them. Now, that's something that we should take away, whether you're talking about Charlie Kirk or the young girl. Is we got to really take advantage of the fact that we have these loved ones in our lives, and live our day to the fullest as best we can. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.